At first, finding an internship was really difficult. The sheer amount of people who either rejected me or didn't reply made for a few very stressful weeks. But weeks after I had applied, the Melbourne Theatre Company finally responded to me. The day I heard back from them, I received an email from a man who went to be on my intern supervisor, Darius Kedros. He explained to me that I needed to send him all the audio from the film Wolf of Wall Street as soon as possible. I saw this as a test, as perhaps if I was unable to provide audio, then I would be unsuccessful in locking down an internship for RMIT. I was at RMIT at the time of receiving this email, so I began frantically researching on how to even do it. As obviously you can't illegally download movies on the RMIT Wi-Fi, I raced home on my bike and in hope to find a really perfect quality download of the movie. To my disgrace, I got home to discover the power was cut out. I decided to check my luck on my hard drive, and to my surprise I was discovered that I already had Wolf of Wall Street in perfect quality downloaded, sitting there waiting for me. This must have been a sign. I ended up running it through a piece of software called MPEG Streamclip, which is basically a Swiss Army knife for extracting audio from Vision, and I was able to do this 2.5-hour piece of audio and have it in Darius's Dropbox within 2 hours of the email. He replied almost immediately and asked me to come into MTC first thing in the morning. The internship took place over 6 intensive weeks, where I worked closely with the sound designer Daria Kedros for the show Hungry Ghosts. The first month was held at the Melbourne Theatre Company building in South Bank for the rehearsals, to then be at the Lawler for rehearsals, and then the production was at the Lawler Theatre opposite BCA in the South Bank, also in South Bank. The rehearsals took place from 9:45 to 5:45 6 days a week. The beauty of this internship was my freedom to come and go as I pleased. For the rehearsal period, the sound designer and director for the play worked very closely and intimately with the 3 actors. My role at first was to simply be a quiet observer, and as things began to gain momentum, my input also began to increase. Before the internship properly began, I had to learn how to use QLab, a software I'd used once before to a small degree, but the extent MTC would be using it was beyond me. It was really great to get to know this program and see it in action during the rehearsals, as it answered so many questions I have asked when going to see theatre in the past. Something very useful I learnt was how to connect 2 computers together and have them talking in sync. This is useful when a lighting cue and a sound cue need to happen in sync and 2 humans can't be trusted to hit go at the exact same moment. This is great knowledge for me to have outside of the theatre world, as I have now figured out how to use these same methods to have projections play in sync with my own live music performances through Ableton. Which is something me and my Vision partner, when I do the audio-visual electronic music, we can now have projections synced to my Ableton Live set that won't just be randomly playing, or I won't have to worry about playing in time. So I was really happy to learn about that. As all of my study has been focused around sound and film, it was interesting to see how similar these theories in place were for sound and theatre. Seeing the theories and practices I've learnt in class being put to use after 3.5 years of studying sound. The first half being technical and the second half being theoretical. It was amazing to see all of these things I've learnt get put into place in real professional world. At first, the techniques I saw come into play were directly related to what I'd learnt in my later years of study in the digital media course. That being, the way my supervisor Darius would create the sounds necessary and why they fitted. It was very interesting to listen to the sound-related conversations he would have to have with the director, a person who had minimal sound background, and her ideas would conflict with his completely, and the way he would be able to work out a compromise was fascinating, as he had to explain advanced sound talk to a person who didn't have advanced sound knowledge. After also seeing the technical skills learnt in my first 2 years of study doing the advanced diploma of sound production. After watching the play in rehearsal for a good month, there would be times they would perform a scene without any sound at all, and other times they would perform a scene with the sound added, and it was so incredibly apparent how powerful the sound was in that scene. All of a sudden there was way more emotion that seemed to be coming from the actors, but really it was the impact that the sound gave and the illusion that the actors were being more heartfelt. because in both scenarios, a scene without sound and a scene with sound, the actors would be doing the same exact thing. Perhaps it is even possible that the sound did in fact improve their acting abilities, as it gave them a sense of tone and feel. So once the set got moved into the Lawler Theatre down on South Bank, where the show would be had in the coming weeks, the technical side of the show became far more advanced. I spent the first couple of days helping my supervisor, Darius, set up the quadraphonic speaker system and the abundance of contact microphones that were placed strategically on the set to allow for the actors and actresses to be heard while they were speaking behind large objects. These contact microphones were also sent through various reverb delay and bit crusher effects to add a sense of distance for the characters. For example, there is a scene in the play set in the bottom of the ocean. The characters are dead and are now portrayed as ghosts. The voices are manipulated very well to serve this fact. Over the period of setting up the show in the theatre, the process of linking all the QLab session with the lighting session and smoke machine cues was a very interesting thing to observe. It is all done wirelessly and seemed to be flawless. These few days were the most beneficial for me of the entire internship, as they were more technically involved, which suited my interests more. And here are some photos. I didn't take these photos because I was actually signed a release form saying I wouldn't take any photos, but I got them on Google Images, and this is actually a video I did film. So this is the set being tested. It's called the Pistol Shrimp, and there's light bars and smoke machines and contact microphones inside these pods. And hopefully you can hear it alright. There's sound design happening in the background right now as well. And moving on, here's another video that I shot the day before production. So yeah. All the light, sound, smoke machine all came together in such a powerful way. So here's Darius, the sound designer, my supervisor, and the director for the play was Petra. And here's just some photos of the cast in action. Again, these are just photos I got on Google Images. So, the RMIT Honours Show. After I completed my internship for MTC, Mitchell Waters approached me with the idea of composing music for a fashion show the RMIT Honours students would be putting on. This ended up being a collaboration with another RMIT student, Adam Hodgen, as well. The theme for their show was a post-apocalyptic-esque environment of very wet, harsh weather. They held the event in the Victoria Harbour docklands, as the very landscape there is unforgivingly cold, unpopulated and lonely. The architecture of Victoria Harbour consists of ultra-modern design, sharp edges and dull colours, lots of greys, blacks and whites. This made it the perfect scene for the catwalk of such a theme to take place. The first stages of this assignment was to investigate the designer's palette. To do this, we met with them, talked about moods, vibes, what they wanted us to portray. They sent us songs that they liked that we could reference, and also we looked at their previous works, Instagram pages and project proposals. All these things gave us a very strong starting point. Collaborating with two other sound designers was a really rewarding process, as the opportunity to bounce ideas off one another enabled you to look into another way of doing things. There will constantly be different tips, tricks and shortcuts to learn, and working alongside others will be the best way to progress. As Mitchell and Adam both use Ableton as well, there were times in the studio at RMIT where we'd be working on a composition together, and because we were basically sharing the mouse and the computer screen, there were many lightbulb moments for me that I doubt I would have happened without the assistance of two other Ableton users sitting right there. Ableton is a very extensive, complex program with many routes to the same destination. However, some routes are better than others. It was a really fun exercise to work together on a score, sort of like finishing each other's sentences, and the outcome would be impossible to achieve solo. Opposed to collaborating with the fellow sound designers Mitchell and Adam, collaborating with the fashion students was obviously a massive part of the process. This involved a few meetings with them at the Brunswick campus at RMIT, and a Facebook group chat that contained a Google Drive folder as well, that we had access to use as a palette board and a place to put our works in progress. In retrospect, the fashion students were incredibly easy to work with. They gave us so much material to work from and to base our sounds on, and were really accommodating and professional with their feedback. This was the first experience I've had with collaborating with people from an entirely different background. Never before had I needed to articulate myself and express sound-related theories to someone who wasn't educated in the world of sound themselves. In a professional domain, it was a rewarding experience as I gained new skills that will aid my future in collaboration. Doing my internship at MTC really helped me to then go on to do the fashion sound collaboration, as I had been intimately watching Darius, the sound designer for Hungry Ghost, deal with sound-related issues involving non-sound-related people. Other than the collaboration that my internship at MTC taught me, it also showed me new ways on how to look at a problem and then solve it, regarding sound design and composition. It's important to remain patient, modest, and to know where you stand when dealing with clients. There will be times where, as the sound designer and the person whose world revolves around sound, you will obviously know what's best compared to the client, but being able to compromise or even accept what the client wants, even if you disagree with them, is an important skill to have. In my time at MTC, I was able to then put into practice for the fashion collaboration. The production night on Monday the 21st of May was a huge success. We had bumped in all the audio gear a few days prior and spent the Monday afternoon setting it all up and testing it all worked fine. There was one run-through a couple hours before the audience arrived, which was seamless. The timing of our score coincided perfectly with the length of each catwalk, and it was really nice to see our work in action as a whole, because up to that date we had only been hearing our compositions in the studio, so hearing it on site was great to see how well it worked. So we had been imagining blah blah blah. After seeing it all happen, it was a great feeling to acknowledge that our pieces did work really well, and afterwards we were all confronted and told that they would love to use us in future projects as well, as we were very professional and easy to work with. This was not only a humbling and gratifying sense of achievement, but also a new gate opened for networking for future opportunities beyond university. Now I've got a link here that I would have played if I was doing an actual presentation for class, but I'm just going to send the link in the email with this video because I doubt the sound will come through that well. And unfortunately, even though there was heaps of photos taken at the RMIT fashion show, we don't have access to those photos yet, even though we thought we might. So that was my presentation. Thank you for listening. Have a good one.